All right, it's 11 o'clock here on the Pacific Coast. My name is Eric Anderton, and it is a pleasure to welcome you to this webinar today. We're going to have an awesome time. 3 steps to construction, sales, success. Just looking at who's jumping on the call right now. We have a number of people who I know. I just want to thank each and every one of you. I can see that some of my clients have jumped on this call, and you guys know who you are. And I just want you to know that I really appreciate the work that we've done together over the years, and I'm looking forward to sharing this particular part of my practice with you guys. It's pretty exciting, actually. So we're gonna have a great time today. As we go through the process here today, there's really 3 things that we're going to cover. We're going to talk about the psychology of high-performing construction sales pros, and from there we're going to dive into this idea of how to craft a strategic approach to each project you pursue, so you know exactly where you stand. And the work that we do during that particular portion of the webinar, I think, is going to be extremely impactful. So like I said a little bit earlier, just make sure that you have a piece of paper and some pens or a pen ready, so that you can take some notes here and think about what it is that you want to do as a result of what you're learning here, particularly in terms of your sales. And then the third thing is a powerful questioning framework to thrive in a negotiated project environment. I know that some of us we do have hard bids where it's just about the number, but I'm convinced more and more when I work with construction companies that yes, the numbers do determine a lot of the decision making, but if you don't have relationships with people and if you don't understand their needs and their challenges, it's very difficult to be successful in construction sales. So it's very important that we have that perspective. Okay, so as we kick off here, by the way, stick around until the end and I'll send you a recording of the webinar. And I'll also let you know partway through the webinar how you can get some help from me if that's something that's interesting to you. Okay, so I want you to think about this time today as your oasis. We've got about an hour that we're going to spend together. I know that you guys are busy and you could be doing, many other things, but I'm glad you've made the decision to join me today on this webinar because it's an opportunity for you to work on your business. So with that idea of an oasis in mind, I want to encourage you just to set down your phone. Hopefully there won't be any fires in the next 60 minutes that are going to cost you money or hassle. Just set your phone down and be focused today. Make notes, like I said. I encourage you, get a piece of pen and a paper and get ready to make some notes, and then also participate. I'm going to be asking you questions as we go through the process here. There's a chat bar that you can chat your answers into. And so I'd like to ask a question just as we get going here. Why are you on this call today? What is it about learning something about construction sales that's important to you? Maybe if you can think of one word that would describe why you're here today on this webinar, spending a few minutes, just chat that into the Zoom webinar chat box. Why are you here today? Just give me some feedback, please. Money, thank you. Dave said money. I appreciate that, Dave. Developing relationships, that's excellent. Thank you, Eric. Developing relationships. Who else? Making some more money. We got another one, yep. Spending less time in resources bidding. That's interesting. Thank you. Thanks for that, Sean. We'll definitely give you some strategies to approach that. Let's see here. How to ask good questions. That's a very good one as well. Yeah, we're going to be diving in how to ask good questions and a questioning format to help us to understand how to uncover what our clients are looking for. So we're going to be diving into also some strategies and some key mindsets as far as selling is concerned. And so 3 things I ask you to do as we're diving into this. Dave, yeah, thank you. New marketing and sales ideas. Excellent. As we dive into this, I ask you to do 3 things. Number 1, I want you to drop the mask. And, we're on a webinar here, so we're not face to face, but just drop the mask and be open and honest about the challenges that you're having in terms of sales. But also drop the mask and let us know some things that are working for you as questions are asked, and just give some feedback so everyone can learn here together. Second thing is ditch the dude. I know some people on this call are excellent at sales, and I congratulate you for that. But there's always things that we can learn. I've been selling for over 30 years, And I tell you, I'm learning every single day about how to be more effective in terms of selling. So ditch the dude and have an open mind. And then the last thing is kill the bear. We may have people on the call here today who are uncomfortable in a sales environment. You may not even consider yourself to be a salesperson. You may just consider yourself to be a builder, someone who just likes to get a project and build a project and get paid for it. And that's all good. But one thing that you've got to understand, whether you're a builder or an engineer, if you're in construction, you're in sales. And I know I have construction executives and construction company owners on the call here today. And so each one of you, you are in sales, and it's imperative that you sharpen your sales skills. And that's exactly why it's a great thing that you're on the call here today. So just a quick question here. When you think about a salesperson, this is often, someone that we think about. But what I'd like you to do is just type in one word to describe your worst and your best experience with a salesperson. What's one word that you think of when you think of your worst experience ever with a salesperson? Just type that one word into the box there. Aggressive, pushy. We got dickhead. Thanks, Eric. We got untrusting. Pressure. Yep. Interesting. Very good. So that's challenging, isn't it? Because it's interesting how we perceive bad sales experiences in terms of being aggressive, pushy, and pressure. And one thing about construction sales, I think we can all agree that high pressure tactics don't work in construction sales. Construction is so unique, it's so complex, there's so much money and risk involved that the high pressure techniques that we might find out at the used car lot or in the jewelry store, they just don't work. So just thinking in terms of your good experiences, give me one word that describes your best experience with a salesperson. What's one word or maybe two words that describes your best experience with a salesperson? Problem solver. Yeah, that's excellent. Thank you, Dave. Relaxed environment. That's right. Content. That's an interesting one. Cared. Very good. Thank you, Neil. Cared. Trusting. Thank you, Dave. That's really great. It's interesting, Dave. We're going to dive into a whole piece about the psychology of selling, and we're going to talk about how important trust is. And if you can't build relationships of trust with people, and this is true in construction, because construction is a relationship business, if you can't build those relationships of trust based on performance, then you're going to really, really struggle to do well. So I appreciate that feedback there. So I've been selling since 1986. So that's over 30 years, if you get an idea of how old I am. I started off selling pizzas on Blondie's Pizza in Berkeley, California in the late 1980s. I've sold televisions. I've sold copy machines for many years, software, leadership development programs. I've sold internet marketing services, and I've had my own business since 2013. So in that time, in my years of selling, I've made cold calls, I've been rejected, I've made tons of mistakes, I've made many, many, many presentations, I've had extreme success in sales, and I've done very well financially and also in terms of benefiting my clients over the years. So sales has been really, really good to me. And some of that goodness and some of that experience is what I'm excited to be able to share with you here on the webinar. In terms of construction, many of you know me already, but I've been helping construction industry companies build people and profits since 2004. Three things I do: executive coaching, leadership development, and strategic planning. And really, it's interesting. The reason why I'm doing this program about construction sales is because construction companies have asked me to. They've reached out to me and they've asked me, Eric, what do you do in terms of construction selling? And so I've combined my experience working with construction companies with my 30+ years of experience to put together this program that I'm going to be sharing with you here today. So I'm really excited about it. These are some of the construction companies that I work with in the area, all the way from billion-dollar GCs to smaller construction companies that are specialty in nature. But, I've worked with a variety of different folks, and I can say this, man, it's been a privilege and a pleasure to work with construction companies in the Bay Area and in Northern California over these years, and I really deeply enjoyed it. If you want to learn more about the impact that I've had on my clients, I won't share a bunch of quotes with you here, but you can just go to ericanderton.com/clients, and there's a bunch of letters there from folks that I've worked with. It'll give you an idea of the things that I do and the positive impact that I've had over the years. Just a little bit about my personal style. If you don't know me, when I get excited, I say, dude. You can tell I kind of talk fast a little bit, so you got to pay attention. So just hang in there, and you'll know if you stay towards the end. To the end, I'll get you the recording if you miss some of the content that we share here today. So I really like to think about, I really believe that construction sales are unique. So let me just open it up to the people on the call here. Why do you think construction sales are unique? Or what is it about construction sales that make them unique? Just give me some feedback here as far as that's concerned, guys. Every situation is different. Yeah, that's true, huh? There's no project that's exactly the same. It's not a cookie cutter thing. You're not selling a widget when you're selling a construction project. That's very, very important. What else? What else makes construction sales unique? You sell service, not a product. Thank you. They're often big dollar. I tell you, that's the thing. I know guys on this call, we're dealing with tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars when we're bidding a project. So it's a very serious amount of dollars. And we are selling a service and not a product. But you know what's interesting? I think, Dave, I appreciate you saying that. If you think about the cycle of a construction sale, it begins with a concept, doesn't it? It begins with an idea in somebody's mind. Everything that you see in our built environment begins in somebody's head, and then it comes out in terms of their plans, in terms of their dreams, in terms of their vision. And so when you're in construction sales, you've got to be able to tap into that conceptual way of thinking and really help people to begin the process of going from conception to completion. And so as you go through that conceptual process, there's a service aspect involved. And there's a deep service aspect involved all the way from the beginning parts when you're engaging with someone and you're beginning to look at their plans and giving them advice on how they might be able to build the project in the most efficient and cost-effective manner possible. But then the service continues once you get the project and you're going all the way through it. And that's why selling is very important, not just for your estimators or your business development people, but selling strategies are very important for your project managers as well. I mean, just think about it for a moment with your project managers. Think about how many change orders your project managers are chasing. Well, I'll tell you one thing, right? Once you've made one sale in construction, as far as getting a job, you're making sales all along the way in terms of collecting on your change orders, in terms of proving to them that you're delivering the service that you've promised, and the delivering of the service will enable you to get more work with that client. So it's a concept, it's a service, and then it's a finished product as well. And so you're judged not only on how you handle the conceptual sale, but you're also judged on how you service and how you produce that finished product. So construction selling is extremely unique, it's extremely complex, and therefore it requires a specific strategic and tactical approach. Okay, so think about, again, construction sales. Let me just give you some ideas on what it's all about. One, there's that concept like we talked about. Two, there's long time frames. Number three, there's heavy competition. I mean, I know that each one of you here on this call today have heavy competition. Number four, there's tons of risk involved. I mean, you think about it. How many of you here put a personal guarantee on every project that you commit to? I know that you do. And when you sign that project agreement, that contract, you're putting yourself on the line. So there's risk involved. Mistakes are costly, okay? There's narrow margins. And what else? There's high pressure. So construction sales is very challenging, it's very rewarding, and it's frankly very difficult. Not everyone can be successful in construction sales. And so what I'd like you to do right now is I just want you to write down, get your piece of paper. I'd like you to write down the top 5 clients or potential clients that you would like to pursue in 2019. Just write down your top 5 clients or potential clients. They can already be existing. You might already be doing work for them. But who are your top 5? I'd like you just to stop for a moment and write those down. And if those top 5 have popped into your mind, can you just type yes into the question box, please? I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page here. Just type yes into the question box in terms of your top 5. Each one of you should have a top 5 set of clients that you're pursuing. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, David. Thank you, Sean. Okay, good. All right, now, That top five is Roland, thank you. That top five is extremely important here, guys, because if there's one thing I've learned over 30 years in sales is that you have to have a clear idea of who it is that you want to sell to. Now, think about that top five for a moment. This next question is critical. Can you say with conviction that each one of those top five are the right client with the right job types in the right location so that you can build a profitable project for them, right? Are they the right client in the right geographic location with the right types of projects that you know you can build profitably? If that's true, then just type profit into the box, because I want to make sure that we're all focused on the top five that can bring profit to us. Just type profit. Eric, thank you. Profit. That's excellent. Please type profit into the box yep. Dave, thank you. I tell you guys, construction is too painful not to be focused on profit. Sean, thank you for that. Okay, so you've got to be really clear about the right client, the right location, and the right job type, so that we can make some profit. Now, this is what I'd like you to do. This is a very interesting little graph here. And I'm just asking you to go with your gut here. How do you feel about those top five at the moment in terms of your likelihood of getting deals with them, signing projects, doing work? Perhaps you're already doing work with them and that's good. But how do you feel about the outcomes that you're thinking about in terms of those top five? And there's this spectrum, right? You have euphoria all the way to panic. How do you feel about that top five at the moment? Just type in one of these words into the box for me. In terms of, think about that top five, just type in one of these words, how you feel about it. Concern. Thank you, Dave. Okay, that's good. It's good to be concerned. Who else? Secure. Okay, good, good. I like secure. Uncertain with some. Thank you, Sean. Okay, excellent, great. Okay, now it's very important. You always want to confirm your gut with the numbers. But your gut, if you have any experience, and I know I've got a lot of experienced contractors on the phone here, on the call, your gut will tell you a lot about your sales situation. And I want to say this, if you're feeling too much euphoria about a particular client or a particular project, you need to check yourself. And I find that most construction company owners, they don't specialize in euphoria because they've been bitten enough to know that they don't want to get too high or too low. So I want you to keep this spectrum in mind as we go through the process here this morning, because it's going to have an impact on how you think through some of the stuff that we go through. So first, let's dive into the psychology of high-performing construction sales pros. And really what we're looking at here is the mindset that you need if you're going to be successful in sales. So let me get some more feedback from you guys. What would you say is your one word that would describe the right kind of mindset for a successful salesperson in construction? Give me one word to describe the right mindset for a successful construction salesperson. What do you guys think as far as that's concerned? Confident has come up here a couple of times. Very interesting. It's really tough to sell something if you are not confident. That's interesting. Wow. Resilient. Thank you, Eric. Confidence is, I tell you, I have a firm conviction here that if I am competent, if I have competence, then that's going to lead to confidence. And if my company is competent, I'll be able to go out into any sales situation and really deliver the goods in terms of my presentation. So we got knowledgeable, positive attitude. These are really excellent. I appreciate the feedback here, guys. Now let's dive into this a little bit. There's some key ways of thinking about selling. And one of them is this: there are no secrets to success. Okay, so I'm not going to share with you anything here today that you probably haven't already thought about in one way or another. And in construction, I believe this is particularly true. You are there to solve problems. You're a service provider and you're there to add value. And if you can keep focused on three things, every day you get up and you're going out to the projects or you're working with your clients, I'm here to solve a problem. I'm here to add value. And I'll tell you one thing, I'm here to outwork everyone. I'm here to outwork everyone. That's a very important mindset in terms of success. Now, here's another one. This is very important. You cannot control productivity. In other words, you cannot control your outcomes, but you can control your activity. You can control the things that you do that lead to the outcomes that you wish to achieve. If you focus on the quality of your activity, productivity will follow. This is fundamental. You must get better and better at what you do in terms of your activity in order to control your productivity. So that's important. And here's another one, and this is what we're going to dive into in terms of mindset. People purchase from people that they know, trust, and like. Now, when it comes to construction projects and when it comes to building a construction business, of those three words, which one do you think is the most important? Know, trust, or like? Which is the most important? Just type it into the box there. Which one do you think is the most? Trust. Thank you, Eric. Let's see. Dave says trust. Excellent. Roland. Let's see. Dave says trust. We have two Daves. Yep. Roland says trust. Sean says trust. Grant says trust. Neil says trust. Trust. Okay. Excellent. Okay. Now, let me ask you this then, guys. When you think of the word trust, what do you think of? What pops into your mind when you think of the word trust? Interesting. Ethics. Okay. Roland, thank you. That's excellent. Ethics. Honesty. Yep. I tell you, that's excellent. Do what you say you'll do when you say you'll do it. Yeah, that's excellent. That's really great, Dave. Thank you. So let's dive into each one of these. Let's think about knowing here for a moment. Okay, how do people get to know you? And it's very, very important here. And by the way, you know what I'll do is I'm going to send each one of you here who are on the call today, I'll send you a PDF ebook. It's a very short report about know, trust, and like afterwards, just as a gift for coming on the webinar here with me today. So I think you'll find it very, very useful. So let's talk about knowing here for a moment. In terms of knowing, how do you get to know people? The one thing I found is you've got to get your face in the place. You know, I think about relationships that I've built with people. I can even think of people who are on the call here today. One of the reasons why I have relationships with them is because I got my face in their office. In other words, I showed up at their office and I made a sales call. And if you want to get to know someone, you need to show up where they are, whether it's socially, whether it's at their place of business. You have to find out where they are, whether it's involved in the associations that they're involved in. You need to get your face in the place. That's one way to get to know people. Another way is you've got to drop the ego. Now, I know many of you guys here on this call, and we all have egos. I know I have an ego, but I just want to encourage you, and you know this is true. If you're going to be successful in construction sales, it's not all about you. You've got to be able to drop the ego and make it about them, because you're there to solve problems and you're there to add value. So as you get to know people and they understand that it's not just about how awesome you are or all the things that you can do, but you're genuinely interested in their problems and in their needs and what you can do to build a profitable project for them, that's going to really help you to get to know them. And then the last thing is persist. I tell you, if there's one thing I have learned in over 30 years in sales, it's not giving up, okay? You want to get smarter and smarter as to the type of sales activity you're doing, but the one thing you cannot do is to give up. And if you simply persist, if you simply show up every day, day after day, whether it's in the selling aspect of your business or in the service aspect of your business, if you keep persisting, that's going to have a massive impact on people being able to get to know you over time. People are wondering, are you in it for the long haul? Think about all the contractors that are kind of fly by night, particularly in this economy where things are, so booming that anyone can pick up work. Well, I tell you, if you're going to be someone who can build a long-term legacy in construction, persistence and showing up through the ups and the downs is absolutely essential. So that's one way that you can develop a mindset of making sure that people know you. Now let's talk about trust. And every one of us here, we know the importance of trust. Let me just say this. One of the great things about construction is depending on the market that you're in, many of us, we don't need a multi-million-dollar project to get started with someone. At times, it's better just to start small because as you know, construction's a two-way street. And you don't really know if this person is a good client until you actually spend some time with them. You know, you can land a sweet project that's right in your wheelhouse technically, but if the client doesn't pay, if they're a pain in the neck, if they don't communicate, all those issues will cause you not to want to do work for them or charge them more for the work, even if they're a good fit for you in terms of the project type. So starting small is a great way just to build a little bit of trust. Now, also, showing up helps to build trust. Are you Johnny on the spot when it comes to showing up? And that's very, very important. What you want to be able to do is whenever you get emails, whenever you get phone calls, you need to be responsive. If you're responsive, it's going to help to build trust. And this is one thing I always want to encourage you. In the front of your mind, make the client your number one priority. And do whatever you need to do to show them that you're responsive, that you communicate well, and that you're to be relied on. And then the third thing is to solve a problem for them. Think about that. And again, if you're starting small, you may just identify a particular problem on a project that you can solve for them. You can bring a unique perspective. Perhaps you can be available to pick up some slack when another contractor has failed. But always be ready to have that problem-solving mindset. Because I'll tell you one thing, if you can solve problems for people, it rapidly develops trust with each one of them. Okay, now, in terms of this is very important as well. And I just want to encourage us here. I tell you, this is really important. If you want people to like you, don't be like the donkey in Shrek, right? At the beginning of that movie, right, the donkey wanted the ogre to really, really like him, and he tried too hard. Listen, you are the prize. Your company is the prize. If your company is any good, it's a privilege for people to do business with you. And you need to show up with that power and that confidence when you walk into the general contractor's office or you walk into the owner's office or the developer's office. Kings talk to kings. So show up as an equal. Don't show up begging for work. Don't show up desperate. Show up as an equal. Nobody likes a desperate salesperson. And then show up and be helpful. Look for things that you can do immediately to help someone. Look to solve problems if you can in a way that benefits them without necessarily them having to give you something first. If there's a way for you to do that. If you can show them a low-cost way for you to, if there's a low-cost way for you to help them, then go ahead and do that as a way of building up that knowing, that trusting, and that liking. And then the last thing, and this is important as well in sales, is be yourself. One of the things I like about the construction companies I work with is I don't work with fake people. It's awesome. I don't work with, these people who are trying to, do whatever. You know what I'm saying? I work with people who are just straight up. They are who they are. And I want to say this, not everyone is going to like you. And that's okay. If you're the type of person who can build a successful construction company, you're going to attract the right types of people and you're going to repel the wrong types of people. So just be yourself. So show up as an equal, be there to help, be yourself. Those are ways that you can build that knowing, that trusting, and that liking with each one of the clients that you work with. So as we've gone through this mindset piece, what's one thing that has struck you as important? Just chat that into the box. What is one thing from this know, trust, and like mindset that has been helpful to you? Let me know. Just chat that in here real quick. Yep, showing up as an equal. That's really important. Being yourself. Yep, going back over here, starting small. Yep, starting small is it's excellent. Starting small is wonderful. Adding value is excellent as well. Thank you. This is great. Okay, so I want to say this. Every day is a good day. And so if you're going to be successful in construction sales, this is what you have to think. High performers in construction, they choose this. They choose to get something out of all situations rather than complain about them. Okay? They choose to hustle rather than to dog it. They choose to be prepared rather than just show up. They choose to be consistent rather than occasional. They choose to be early rather than just on time or late. They choose to want to learn rather than want to explain or excuse. They choose to do more rather than just enough or less. They choose to be early rather than just on time or late. They want to learn rather than want to explain or excuse. They want to do more rather than just enough or less. They are mentally tough instead of being mentally lazy or intimidated. Very important in construction sales. They concentrate on what to do rather than on what may occur. They choose to be aggressive rather than passive or submissive. And they choose to know their limitations rather than try and do more than they're capable of. And finally, they always think about solutions rather than worry about problems. Oh, and a couple more here. They accept adversity as part of the game and as a part of life rather than magnify the adverse conditions and seek sympathy. And they choose to share with and help others rather than be selfish. So this is a mindset of high-performing construction salespeople. They are willing to build relationships based on know, trust, and like, and they choose to perform at a high level every single day. So the second thing we want to take a look at, and this is really the heart of what I want to share with you here today, is how to craft a strategic approach to each project you pursue so you know exactly where you stand. So I really want you to pay some attention here. Grab that notebook, grab that piece of paper. Here we go. Or now, you've already made a list of your top 5 clients or potential clients. I want you to pick one, okay? Just pick one of those top 5. When you've got one, please chat what the number 1 into the box. Sorry, guys. Chat the number 1. Grant, thank you. I just want to make sure you've got that 1. Okay, Sean, thank you. Neil, thank you. Okay, Dave, appreciate that. Okay, now, you've got that 1. Thank you. Yes, Eric, that's good. That's good. Okay, now, you pick that account, and I want you to ask yourself something about that 1. Can you think of something that might be slightly off in that 1 account? Slightly off. Think about that for a moment. Something that you're a little bit unsure about, okay? And if you're not unsure about anything about the one that you've already picked, pick one that you're a little bit unsure of. So if you can think of something that is slightly off about the one that you've picked, just type the word off into the question box, into the chat box. Off, Sean, thank you. Good, excellent. Eric, thank you. Off, good. Okay, good. Very important here. And think back to that scale from euphoria to panic that I shared with you. And think about what's slightly off there. Now, let's dive into a little bit. Typically, what causes things to be slightly off in a client or a potential client that we're pursuing is some kind of change. A change has caused something to shift in my relationship with that client or in their particular circumstances. Okay, now think about that for a moment. I'd like you to think about some changes that may have happened in that particular client. So if you can think of some changes, just type the word changes into the box. If you can think of some changes that are making you feel like something is slightly off, just type that word changes, please. Eric, excellent. Okay, that's excellent. Okay, now think about this in terms of changes that might be occurring. Let's think about some examples of changes. If there's a change that has occurred in an account, can one of you type in 1 word or 2 words, something about what kind of a change might occur? Just type that in. I'll protect the identity of everyone here, but I'm just curious of what kind of changes are you seeing that might be impacting your feeling? Staff on the projects. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. What else are some changes that might be impacting the way you feel about that particular client? Ah, look at that. Yes, that's excellent. The way they make decisions. Ah, the decision-making process may have changed. That's very interesting. What else? What are some other changes? What are some changes that are occurring that are making you feel uneasy? Who's making the decision? This is great. Okay, so we have one about the process of decision making. We have another one about the person who's making the decision. And let me say this, their management. That's good. Now, I want to just share this with you. In any sale that's complex, you have 3 types of decision makers. You have the user decision maker, you have the technical decision maker, and you have the final money decision maker. And if you're going to be successful in construction sales, you have to be good at selling to all of those types of buyers, okay? And you have to understand that sometimes one person plays more than one role. But you think about, let's say you're selling a project to a general contractor. I know we have some subs on the line here. Now, think about the superintendent of that general contractor who's going to be running that project. He's the user buyer. And if he hates you, he's not going to want to work with you. And so you've got to think about every time you approach a project, who are my user buyers? Who are my technical buyers? And who is my cash money buyer? Okay, that's very, very important. Now, let's think a little bit more about the changes. The changes that could occur in a project include something that's a sudden change, right? A circumstantial change. Perhaps someone quits, someone moves, someone gets fired. There's a circumstantial change that just happens quickly. Another kind of change is a gradual change. Okay, think about this. There's a gradual erosion of your relationship over time. Perhaps you're on a project with them at the moment and it's going okay, but it's not going great. And you can just tell that relationship is deteriorating a little bit, and perhaps they won't be so open to working with you on their next project. So maybe that erosion is making you feel a little bit uneasy. And then there's the positive changes. Perhaps they're in a growth mode. Perhaps they're picking up projects all over the place and they're really wanting to work with you in a more engaged way. So not all changes are negative. Some of them are positive. And so what you've got to be able to do is when you look at those changes, you've got to ask this: are these opportunities or are they threats? So what I'd like you to do is just type into the box, when you think about the changes in that one client that make you feel a little uneasy or are changing the dynamic of your relationship, just type in whether it's an opportunity or a threat. Just type that into the box, please. Awesome. Opportunity. That's great. Opportunity. Opportunity. Excellent. Excellent. I have one threat, but I've got lots of opportunities. Okay, that's good. It's good to have that positive mindset, because that's one thing I tell you, even in construction where sometimes we fall short and things don't go exactly well the way that we want them to on a project, right there is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to fix it. It's an opportunity to regain trust and to even build trust as we fix the problems and the challenges that we have. So step one is to identify one of your key clients. Step two is to think about the changes that are occurring that might make you feel uneasy. Step three is to really ask, what are those changes? Are they a sudden change? Is it a gradual erosion? Is it a growth change? And then step four is to ask, is this a threat or an opportunity? Okay? This is a strategic approach to looking at a particular client. Now, you take that one client and you've got to ask this now. What's your next step with that one client? Okay? Now, each one of you, ask yourself this question. With that one client, what are you selling at this particular point? What's your next sales objective with that one client? Now, think about that for a moment. The second thing you've got to ask is this: by when will that sales objective be accomplished? And then how much will that sales objective get me? What is the dollar amount that I will gain as a result of achieving that sales objective? Now, sometimes in the construction process, because it's so long and so complex, you can't always tie a dollar amount to a particular sales objective. So let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. You may be developing a relationship with a contractor, a developer, or an owner, and your sales objective may simply be to take the decision maker out for lunch in the next 30 days to get to know them. Now that is a sales objective, because it may not be signing on the bottom line for a particular project, but it is a step in the sales process that ultimately leads to developing a relationship, which leads to doing business together. Okay? So when you think of that one client that you're considering, when you think about the changes that are occurring, what's your next step? So what I'd like you to do is if you can just type in what you think your next step with that particular client should be. In a word or two, just type in what you think your next step should be. All right, pick up the phone and make a phone call. Yep. Illustrate how we can bring solutions to the construction process. Excellent. Yep, this is really great. Call the project manager. Meet with the superintendent. I tell you, that's a really good one there. Again, the superintendent of the general contractor is the user buyer. And if you need to develop a relationship with him, you've got to get out there and do whatever you can. Develop a relationship with the new VP. That's excellent. The new VP comes in, perhaps he's looking or she's looking to make a name for themselves, and they're looking to do things differently. That could be a threat to you. It could be an opportunity. But you want to identify your next step in terms of your selling process. And don't be afraid to get very micro about your next step. Just don't think in terms of I need to get a deal or I want to win that project, 6 to 12 months from now. Think in terms of what's my next step in the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 30 days. That can really help you to make incremental progress in building relationships with people, because that's what construction is all about, is that incremental progress, building relationships. Now think about this. As you think about that one client that we've been talking about here again, that one client, let me ask you, as you go through that strategic process, how do you feel about that one client? Just type that word in again. Look at the spectrum and type in one word for me of how you feel about that one client that you've been thinking about just over the last 15 minutes or so. Secure, that's good. Hopeful, interesting. Hopeful. Comfort, that's good. If you're feeling hopeful, that's a good thing. You want to really be confirming those hopes, right? There's an old saying, hope deferred makes the heart sick, right? And so if you're hopeful, you want to do everything you can to confirm those hopes. If you're feeling okay, there's obviously some work to do there. So I appreciate you sharing that. And the thing that you want to do is whatever it is that you feel, you want to do the hard work necessary to find out the truth. So don't make an assumption, but do the hard work. And in sales, and in construction sales, how would you describe the hard work that you have to do in order to find out the truth? What's the hard work that you have to do? How would you describe that hard work? What is the thing that you have to do to find out the truth in construction? What would you guys say? What's the one thing you have to do to find out the truth? Follow up. Yep, thank you. Ask good questions. Thank you. I tell you, this is absolutely essential. Construction is a communication business from beginning to end. Communication. And if you're going to be successful, see if they give you feedback. Yes, you've got to get feedback. You've got to follow up. You've got to ask questions. You've got to identify who's the money buyer, who's the user buyer, who's the technical buyer, who do I need to talk to, who do I need to develop a relationship with. Follow up, ask good questions, get feedback. All of these things are absolutely excellent. Okay, so with that strategic perspective in mind, what you want to be able to do with that one particular person, again, and these are just some suggestions, and that one particular account, you want to make phone calls. Maybe you need to get together as a team and brainstorm about how you're going to approach the project. I know one client I recently worked with, their VP just didn't have a good relationship with one particular client, and so they brought someone else in to develop that relationship. And then you also want to perhaps go face-to-face. One of the most powerful things you can do in our culture is actually have a face-to-face conversation, because we're so hooked into technology that we miss that. And there's nothing like a drive out to the job site or going belly to belly at the office or going out for coffee, going out for drinks, whatever the case is. Face-to-face is an excellent way to develop the relationships and to find out the truth. So really quick, I just want to give you some ideas on how I can help you if it's something that you'd like in terms of this selling process. The Construction Sales Academy is something that I'd like to give each one of you an opportunity to consider. And so let me just tell you a little bit about what the Construction Sales Academy is all about. Part one, we take a dive into your overall strategic marketing approach. Okay, so that's very important. Before you can dive into the weeds, you've got to start at 30,000 feet. Part two is strategic selling, which is kind of what we've been talking about, getting a taste of just in the last few minutes. So looking at specific clients and opportunities. Part three is tactical selling, which we're about to dive into here. understanding how to engage a client and develop opportunities. And then part 4 is something we touched on earlier, self-management. It's all about the nobility of selling and how to achieve consistent high performance. So those are the 4 parts of the Construction Sales Academy. And a couple of things about it that I think you need to be really clear about. Number 1, if you're going to join the Academy or have me help you with it, it's going to require a lot of hard work on your part. It's going to require a lot of thinking. I'm not really a motivational speaker, so I'm not going to come in and do sort of rah-rah sales training. That's not what I do. We're going to come in and we're going to take a look at your business. We're going to take a look at your strategy and really do some hard work on identifying the right clients, the right jobs in the right locations, and how you're selling to them. It's going to involve some change in your business. And so if you're interested in changing the way that you're approaching clients, if you're interested in learning new things about sales and improving your strategic and tactical approach, then it can be something that can benefit you. But if you're not interested in change, or if you're pretty content where you're at, then it's not really something that would be a fit. And then the last thing is it's not cheap either. I'm not going to share this specific pricing with you on the webinar because there's different customizable options involved. But one thing I can tell you, it's not cheap. And there's a reason it's not cheap. The reason it's not cheap is because it has extreme value with it. One thing that I always tell my clients is if you want to do business with me, my expectation is that you're going to get a 5 to 10 times return on any financial investment you make with me. And if you don't think that's possible, then we shouldn't work together. So it's very, very important for you guys to know that. And if it's something that you'd like more information on, or if you'd like to jump on the call and call with me and just learn some more so that we can begin to talk about it, just email me, okay? I know many of you guys here on the call here, just shoot me an email, eric@ericanderton.com, and just in the subject line, put in improved sales. And then we can schedule a short call and we can explore perhaps how we might be able to work together as far as the Construction Sales Academy is concerned. All right, so let's move on to the last part of the workshop. Now, the last part is a powerful questioning framework to help you thrive in a negotiated project environment, okay? So let's dive into that. Now, let me ask you a question here. Why do people buy things? Chat that into the box. Why do people buy things? They see a need. Yeah, okay. Need. Okay, the 2 needs. Okay, what? Think about it some more. Why do people buy things? To feel good about themselves. Thank you, David. That's a good one. So the idea of pleasure. Why do people buy things? Desire. Okay, thank you, Roland. Why? Because they can. There you go. They need what you have more than the money costs. Oh, I tell you, Sean, that is excellent. To feel fulfilled. Now this is really key. Just going back to what you said there, Sean, in terms of what we're going to be talking about here in the next few minutes, is one of the keys in a tactical approach is that you have to think about a sale in terms of a scale, and your benefits and the reasons why they should do business with you need to outweigh the cost of doing business with you. That is absolutely essential. So fundamentally, people purchase for 2 reasons. They purchase because they want pleasure, and they purchase because they want to avoid pain. Okay? They purchase because of pleasure, and they purchase because they want to avoid pain. So we go towards pleasure and we go away from pain. Now, when it comes to construction services, which do you think is more important? The avoidance of pain or the pursuit of pleasure? What do you guys think? That was pretty quick. Avoid pain, yes. Think about that. I know, yep, avoid pain, yep. So it's interesting because I know that one of you guys is a residential contractor, another is a commercial contractor. Both of you said avoid pain. So that's excellent. All right, now, in terms of a construction project, what are some of the pains that people are looking to avoid when it comes to a construction project? What are some of those pains? Schedule, thank you. I'm assuming you can miss scope. Yep, thank you. Okay, good. Schedule delays, rework, poor quality outcomes. Yes. Cost overruns. Yes. Okay. Excellent. 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 Let me ask you this. Have you ever won a project or taken over a project when the contractor that the owner or the GC was working with was responsible for schedule delays, poor quality, cost overruns? Have you ever gotten a project where those sorts of situations were occurring? Yes, last week. Thank you. Okay. All right. Good. Good. Remember, I'm not asking tough questions here. So you think about a construction, right? This is one way to look at it in terms of your tactical approach when you're looking at a project. These are great questions. Where would you like to be in terms of your project, whether it be in terms of the bid phase, the plan phase, the build phase, the bill phase? Where are you now? What are the roadblocks between where you are now and where you'd like to be? And what are those roadblocks costing you? Okay. It's very important that you have a tactical approach in your sales in terms of construction so that you can identify the roadblocks that are holding people back from getting what they want or helping them to avoid the pain that they don't want. Okay. So let me just share this particular model with you. And I take this from the book called Spin Selling, which I recommend that each one of you read. And spin selling is an acronym. The word spin is an acronym for four things: situation, problem, implication, and need payoff. So I'm going to just break these down in very simple terms. We're not going to dive into a ton of detail here, but I think you'll find this very, very important. When you're going into a conversation with someone where you're exploring doing work for them, or perhaps when you're presenting a proposal, when you're trying to figure out what's going on with a developer or with a general contractor, you have to be able to ask situational questions, problem questions, implication questions, and need payoff questions. And just let me say this: if you're going to be successful in sales, you must become an expert at asking questions. It's not going to be about the power of your charisma or the shine on your shoes, anything like that. It's going to be about the quality of the questions that you ask. And you must be able to ask specific types of questions. So a situation question is a question about background and facts. Okay, so the size of the project, the location of the project. If you're the subcontractor, perhaps who's the owner that's working with the GC. These are all situational questions, background and facts. And I just want to encourage you in terms of situational questions. If you're dealing with a savvy construction buyer, those types of questions are boring. And so you should do your homework up front so that you limit the number of situational questions that you ask. Okay? Because what you want to be able to do almost immediately is go from those situational questions to the problem questions. You need to be able to craft questions that uncover problems that that person has or problems that they may anticipate around things like schedule or quality or cost or missed scope. You need to be able to uncover problems and difficulties and dissatisfactions. This is particularly true if you're walking in on an owner or a developer or on a general contractor who is already committed to a construction partner, but you may suspect that there's issues with that partner. And you may suspect that there's an opportunity for you to win some work from that person. You need to be able to uncover those problems by asking very, very good questions. And you see, what problems are is they are the raw material for you to build a sale. So if you can find out that there's been schedule delays and rework and poor quality and missed scope and cost overruns, all of this is raw material to help you to build a sale. Because once you've identified the problems, then, and by the way, those problems can exist in all of these areas just in terms of the build itself. Once you've identified those problems, then you want to go on to the next step, which is the implication. Now, this is very, very important. You may know all about the problems, but you need to ask about the implications, the consequences, the effects of the problem. You need to ask, let me ask you, what was the impact of that missed scope? What is the impact on you of the poor quality? How have the cost overruns affected your profitability on the project? And implication questions are sad questions. So I tell you, When you find out a problem, one of your jobs in sales is to magnify the problem. Not because you're a sadist, but you need to be able to get that problem cost scale way down in terms of the problems so that they will see the solution that you're providing as something that is worth it to them. So you need to explore the implication of those problems. And in terms of two ways. Number one, the logical implications in terms of money and time and productivity. And then the emotional implications in terms of frustration and hassle and failure. If they are pissed off with their current provider, with their current contractor, and they don't want to work with them anymore, you need to find that out. That's your responsibility. So make sure you ask implication questions around logical issues like money, time, and productivity, and emotional issues like frustration, hassle, and failure. Okay, now the next step is to go to the need payoff questions. Now the need payoff questions are the happy questions, and they're about value and importance and usefulness. So it's a question like this: what would it mean to you if we could deliver a project that has zero rework? And think about the impact that would have on someone. What would it mean to you if we could guarantee a particular cost, let's say, or if we could improve the quality so that you have much more happier end users? What would that mean to you? Those are the happy types of questions, and you want to cover those questions in terms of the logical costs and the emotional costs, the emotional and logical benefits. And so those types of questions are positive, they're helpful, and they're solution oriented. Okay? So you not only want to find out the problems, you not only want to explore the pain, but then you want to provide them with the solutions, and specifically the solutions that you provide. Okay? So here are some questions. How important is it to improve productivity? How helpful would a good design build partner be? What would be the impact of improved communication? These are the types of questions that get people beyond the roadblocks to the end that they're looking for, and it helps them to associate you with solving their problems. And that's why you're there. You're there to solve problems for them and then to add value. So those are the three steps there: the psychology of high-performing construction sales pros, how to craft a strategic approach to each project, and a powerful questioning framework to thrive in a negotiated project environment. So it's time for you to get to work. So what I'd like to ask is this. First, let me show you my classic patent quote: a good plan violently executed now is better than a perfect plan next week. Let me just ask you this. Just type into the box here one thing you learned, one thing you'll stop doing, one thing you'll start doing, one thing you'll do less of, one thing you'll do more of. You don't have to type in all of those things, but just type in one thing that you've learned, or one thing that you'll stop doing, or one thing that you'll start doing. Just type in that one thing, please, from what you've learned here today. Personal meetings or phone calls. Right on. That is excellent. That is awesome. Ask better questions. Yes. I tell you, make those 5 people. Let me just give you an application. The 5 people you've identified. Pick up the phone or go face to face. Grant, thank you. Meeting clients face to face. I tell you, I got one of my clients, man. He's a rainmaker, and you know what he does? He gets out there and he meets his clients. He takes them to the basketball games. He goes out and hangs out with them. Meet clients face to face. Get to know people. Excellent. Anything else? Any other takeaways from here? More personal meetings. That's great. Ask better questions. Meet clients face to face. That's absolutely excellent. How much persistence is too much? That's a good question. I appreciate you asking that. In my mind, I always want to keep top of mind of people. And so if I'm thinking about the top 5 clients that I want to get to know, I want to make sure that I'm touching them every 30, 60, or 90 days. And when I'm in touch with them, I always want to be adding value in one way or another. So I just don't want to be showing up and begging for work, but I want to be in relationship with them, adding value, coming up with solutions perhaps to issues they may have, providing them with ideas that may benefit them. So always look to add value, and the more value that you add, the more you can show up on a more consistent basis. That's a good question there. Okay, so just keep in mind here, you've stuck around to the end. I appreciate that. I'm going to send you the recording and the slides of the webinar. I'm also going to send you that ebook on Know, Trust, and Like as a thank you for showing up and hanging out with me here today. And also, in terms of the help, I just want to reiterate that. The Construction Sales Academy, if you'd like more information, there's a variety of different ways we can approach those 4 parts. And I'd like to discuss that with you. I want to see if you're a fit in terms of the hard work and the willingness to change. And like I said earlier, these things aren't inexpensive. My expectation is that you will get a 5 to 10 times return on any investment that you make with me. And so you and I both need to make sure this is a fit as far as that's concerned. So if you're interested in learning more about the Sales Academy, shoot me an email, eric@ericanderton.com. Put in the subject line, Improve Sales. And we can get a dialogue going and figure out if it's something that works for both of us. All right, so what time are we at here? 12:05. Okay, 5 minutes more than I thought, but nevertheless, we've had a great time. I just want to thank each one of you, Sean, David, Grant, Roland, Eric. Thank you so much, all of you who participated. Thank you, Brett, for participating here today. I just want to acknowledge you guys and thank you for helping me here on the webinar in terms of your participation. Any questions you have for me, you guys have my email. You guys, I value my relationship with you guys, so feel free to get in touch with me. Appreciate your time. Have a great Thursday, and I'll talk to you all soon.